nothing to it. Go ahead and bring Goliath on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you, I'm warm, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am icon, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile born, so ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Keeping it true to from 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions. Know that he is so. This is all me, ain't got much to do with who you know. Yeah, keeping it true to form, but they already knew that, y'all.
Here we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the Saturday Pigskin presented by Spherion Staffing. My name is Brian Skowronski, and yeah, it's Monday night, but we're bringing you the Saturday Pigskin raw and uncut here tonight because all the wildness that happened over the weekend, nothing could have been more 2020 than the high school football season kicking off on a Friday night and having to wrap up the next day. Got a couple of special guests with me here tonight. I have got Erik, one of the best analysts that we have for high school football in all of North Central Ohio, and one of the best sports writers that we have as well from the Richland source, Curt Conrad, both sitting in. Gentlemen, wild weekend to say the least. I mean, but it's been a wild year, so we expected nothing less. Give me some of your top perspectives and takeaway, Erik, now that you've had a chance to digest everything that we saw over the weekend.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was really surprised with the score of the TY Tiger game. Coming off that state championship run, we knew there was going to be a little bit of a rebuild there, but just the way that their secondary was exploited in that game. I'm sure they'll come out angry this week and try to make some of those adjustments, but that was a surprise. I thought Ontario actually played very, very well in the Shelby game. How about Lucas going down to the Valley, getting a win for the first time ever? Coach Spittler coming off his state championship or state runner-up run and, just doing what he does. Foot-to-foot splits, here we go, try to stop us. They're composed, their defense is solid. I think it's probably the most consistent programmer we have right now in North Central Ohio.
Fair point.
If you didn't know any better, you could have sworn football was football and the world was normal,
right.
Which was really, really, I think, just reassuring for a lot of people. I mean, people have been missing, and I spoke to some coaches last week, and it just seems like we're all so fatigued with what's going on. The storm cloud's been following us around for 4 months, and even for 1 minute, if it didn't follow us, at least we had a chance to watch football, high school football, and watch high school kids be high school kids, which was kind of neat.
Yeah, the storm clouds definitely followed us into Friday night.
Absolutely.
Interrupted a lot of the action, but we were able to get in some games. We got a whole bunch of highlights coming your way right now. Let's run it back on the run back. Northmore opening their season at home against Grandview Heights. Golden Knights looking to build off last year's 9-win season and opening drive. Maxton Lauer, 3-yard run into the zone, plus the 2-point conversion. Going to make it 8-zip in favor of the home squad, so they are off to a nice start and a nice celebration there. After a Bobcats fumble on 4th and goal from the 5, Marcus Cortez hooks up with Andrew Armrose, extending the Knights lead. 16-0 after another 2-point conversion. Bobcats would fumble again on their first offensive play, and just 5 plays later, Cortez racing down the sideline. 23 yards for a Northmore score. It is 22-zip. They got things rolling in the highlight of the night. Lauer out of the Wildcat, straight up the gut, bursts his way to pay dirt from 65 yards away. He finished with a $125 and 2 scores all in the first half as Northmore rolls 34-0. Impressed, fellas? You should be.
Absolutely. There was a time not so long ago when Northmore football was not
Bit
what
of a
you see
laughing
here.
stock.
Yeah, early in my career here in Mansfield, they went years without winning football games. Those times have come and gone. This is a program. I mean, they were a playoff team last year. They've been knocking on the door there for quite a few years now. So it's not your father's Northmore, I guess.
Knocking on the door there was Brady Tedrow, making it 8-0 in favor of Clear Fork, taking on Lucas at home. And then there's 33-yard scamper a few minutes later by Ethan Sauter would knot things up. Now we've got Grant Barrett making it 15-7 late in the second quarter as Lucas takes the lead. And then after Brady Tedrow returned the ensuing kickoff back 70 yards, he would later cap it off with a 4-yard dash into the zone, tying things up. Cubs freshman kicker Aiden Culler would prove to be the hero, poking through a 24-yard field goal that would prove to be the game winner as Lucas in the defense hold off a last chance by the Colts. They win it at the corral.
Hey, Lucas being Lucas, right? That's what they do. They go down, they always play up, and they'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. Lucas Cubs, man.
OCC action here. Mount Vernon was on the road at Lexington, and the first touchdown you saw there was a pass from Britton Long hooking up with Mr. Moyer, who would find one more time, a 24-yard strike, made it 14-0. The Minutemen they want to go down without a fight though. Here's sophomore Jordan, I think his name is pronounced Breeze, with a big run like he's part of the Breeze, flying down the field 44 yards into Mount Vernon territory, but Cole Pauley looking left all the way, and he's going to get picked off in the end zone, ending a Lexington scoring threat. Pauley would have 3 giveaways on the day as Mount Vernon shuts them down 14-0. Curt, you were at this game. What was your overall impressions?
I talked to Mount Vernon coach Mike Kerr after the game, and shutting the team out at any level is a hard thing to do, and to pitch a shutout, especially on opening night, he couldn't have been any happier.
Here's Ontario at Shelby WW Skiles Field in this Richland County showdown, and how about this stud junior Blaine Bowman making his mark early, hitting the Whippets on the board less than 2 minutes into the contest. Later on, he would find his way in the end zone again. It's 21-0 in favor of the Hungry Hounds early in the second, but then Griffin Shaver would bounce back for Ontario here. Check out this catch, Erik. You were in the building. What'd you think about that one?
Oh, it was unbelievable. That one and the one that they didn't call a touchdown, I'm sure that you're going to have on here at some time. But Ontario has very good athletes. They got those basketball players back, man, and it's showing on the field.
Yeah, here's one right here. Ethan Snyder going up and over the defender for his second score of the day. Actually, this is Nolan Payne here, 25-yard catch. It was 21-14 in the third, but the senior leader for the Shelby Whippets would eventually close the door on an Ontario comeback. Owen Fisher driving the nail in the coffin. 28-14, Shelby gets it done, Erik. Impressive win for them?
Yeah, it's an impressive win. Anytime you get a week 1 win, Shelby in the fresh new unis, Blaine Bowman showing out, Marshall Shepard proving he's going to be the next good quarterback coming through Shelby.
And now we've got Mapleton on the road at Crestview. Cougar senior captains showed out on senior night. Here's Chase Shiflett, one of his 2 rushing touchdowns on the night. Later on, how about Ross Kuhn finding a wide open Owen Barker, 45 yards. This put the Cougars up 20-6. But let's fast forward now to the ensuing kickoff, where we are going to learn a new name, a freshman named Colin Klein, and he is about to get loose, boys. How about this for just a 9th grader? Finding the seam and getting ghost down the sideline.
And if you know anything about football, or not necessarily football, but athletics over in Mapleton, Klein is a name that you've heard year after year after year.
It would not be much of a game after that, though. 28 unanswered points as Evan Hamilton has a 50-yard TD grab here. He had 2 scores on the night, and then the icing on the cake is going to be coming up for the Cougars. How about sophomore Mason Ringler, who everybody told me about before the game out there in Cougar country. He's got the 40-yard scoop and score as Crestview cruises 48-14. I think they might be the best team in the Fire League.
Yeah, and I was getting ready to say that. That sets up a huge game this week with St. Paul after St. Paul gets by South Central last week. I actually am excited about both Richland County Fireland schools with Plymouth and Crestview.
All right, our last highlight of the night is West Holmes in the Knights hosting D3 runners-up Mansfield Senior from a year ago, and just a disastrous start for the Tigers. You see the fumble there on the kickoff return, and then big plays killed Senior High in the passing game all night. Here's Brady Taylor hauling in a 52-yard bomb. The Knights led it 7-0 right here, and then this time it's Noah Clark finding a wide open Garrett Estep. 53 more yards to Pater. It was 14-0 after the first before Clark would make it a 21-0 game here, and West Holmes rolls the Tigers. They put 56 on the board, beat them by 35, boys.
Mansfield Senior may not have given up 56 points all year last year. That's just how good that defense was, and this isn't last year's defense. They can't rest on those laurels from the state runner-up here.
So, given all the moving pictures that we just saw, gentlemen, what would you say is, kind of the big picture? What would it be Mansfield Senior getting blown out on the road? What do you think is like the number one takeaway that you get from Friday night and Saturday, I guess?
It's just the opportunity for the kids to play football first and foremost for me. Beyond that, I think the Ohio Cardinal Conference, West Holmes is a very good football team. People might be shocked, and I was too, that they beat Senior High by 30 points, but I had picked them to be one of the favorites in the conference. Worcester's very good. Mount Vernon pitched a shutout. There's going to be a lot of good football played in the Ohio Cardinal Conference.
Yeah, real quickly, not pictured there. Worcester did handle business at Madison, 48-6. They were a winner. Ashland, 19-18 over Berea Park on the road. I know they got down 12-0 in that game and had to have a big defensive stand at the end where Berea Park went for 2 to win the game. Arrow said nothing doing. So the OCC, very exciting. Erik, what did you take away from week one?
I just saw a lot of sloppy play, which is actually to be expected because you're talking about minimal reps all summer. You're talking about scrimmage reductions, no 7-on-7s, those types of things. At the Shelby, Ontario game, just a lot of penalties. I think Shelby had like 160 yards worth of penalties, if I remember correctly. It was, and Ontario had a bunch as well. So just the game that I was at saw a lot of penalties. Some of those can always be argued, but let's be honest, like some of those you got to own as well. I'm excited about the things that transpired from week one that are going to take us into week two because I think it's setting up. Here's a perfect example for me. Ontario's front seven defensively controlled the game. That's the first time I've seen Owen Fisher bottled up like that since maybe his freshman year, back when I was coaching. And so I got to see, is that an issue on the Shelby side or is that just Ontario's gotten that much better in their front seven? I think that's going to play out next week when we see Shelby playing Pleasant and Ontario's playing Lucas. So we're going to get more answers there. That's what I'm looking forward, as we move from week one to week two.
And I would like to let you folks know at home that we are live right now on the Facebook. So if you've got any questions for Erik, Curt, or myself, go ahead, chime in, and we will try to get them answered for as much time as we have here today. Curt, quick breakdown from the Minutemen getting shut out at home. You were there. You got to see every single snap on Friday night into Saturday afternoon. What would you say overall was missing for Big Lex? Why didn't it go well?
I think the big story from that game was what happened not on the football field. Earlier in the week, Lexington had a player test positive for COVID-19. They canceled practice on Wednesday. They contacted the Mount Vernon officials. Those two schools, in conjunction with the health departments in both counties, decided you guys can go ahead and play football. There's just some risks that you're going to have to take, and that was what Mike Kerr, the good coach at Mount Vernon, told me. He said, this is just the world we're living in, and you got to be okay with taking a risk or two, and if parents aren't okay with that, they completely understand that too. Once the action finally got to the football field, defenses, and I think this might be is expected, the defenses were well ahead of the offenses in that game especially. Neither though, Lex had scrimmaged Lucas, but those opportunities were pretty few and far between in the preseason. So a lot of teams are playing catch up right now on offense.
And then you got to see Shelby in person, Erik, and you already mentioned that you thought Ontario might have handled them a little bit up front. Whippets, though, they got a new signal caller. It just seems like, man, they got a feeder system going over there.
No, they do. They do a good job, and Coach Mahaney does a great job. He is a quarterback guy. He coached a great young man. I can't remember quite what his name was at Mapleton.
At Mapleton, right?
Yeah, that kid was, I believe, the Division VII Player of the Year, if I remember correctly. So, he's very good. He is the guy to coach quarterbacks. There's no doubt about that. From Brennan Armstrong to McGuire Albert and now Marshall Shepard. Marshall Shepard is going to be a very good quarterback. There's no doubt about it. He just needs reps. But I'll tell you what, he's also got a great receiving corps. Cody Lance, Andre Hill, Blaine Bowman, amongst others. Connor Hinkle is going to be another name you're going to hear pop up that's a junior. He's going to be able to throw it around the yard. And I'll tell you what, I think that's going to be the big focus for Shelby this week is going to be they've got to figure out how to run the football. They're not going to just be able to line up and throw the ball 25, 30 times. And I know they don't want to do that. They want Owen Fisher touching the ball 20 to 25 times a game. And then if you're Ontario, the basketball effect was definitely noticeable. They had 3 wide receivers, and the man that I love, the little human joystick that I say, he's just unbelievable.
Owen Hatfield.
Hatfield. Yeah, I love that dude, man. He's just, quicker than two cats. And I thought the quarterback did a great job of facilitating. I think Coach Miller has done a phenomenal job with that group in his third year. Defensively, I thought that they were up to the task. And I'll say this. They went into the game saying, we have to stop Owen Fisher. There was no doubt about that. So that's why I want to see week 2, because it might have been that. I mean, they lined up and basically said, we got a first-year starting quarterback. Let's see if he can throw the ball around the yard. And I thought he did that really well early. And if you were a Shelby football fan at that game, you probably felt like you could have been up 28, maybe even 35 points. There were a couple turnovers going in to score.
I think I was a little bit surprised to see Lucas go into the Valley and knock off Clear Fork, to be perfectly honest. Just the fact that they were supposed to be playing that game at home, then they have to make it a road game for themselves just to accommodate more fans. And just going in there, winning a defensive battle. And for me, watching the game on our broadcast, it just looked to me like maybe the Lucas weight room was really full during the offseason. They got some big dudes.
And down 3 guys.
Yeah.
I mean, think about that. Like, is Lucas ever going to take their opportunity to reload or to rebuild? I mean, dude, I'm telling. And here's what I love about it. I had an opportunity to do an interview with Coach Spittler, I believe at the beginning part of June. What an incredible guy. Why would you not want your young man going down and playing for the Lucas Cubs? And I mean, he's just got a great thing going. He knows who he is. He knows the type of school that he's got. He's got 30 to 40 young men. He's not wasting his time trying to get real creative. He's getting wrinkles in here and there, but they do what they do. They do it well. It reminds me of the movie Remember the Titans. We got 6 plays. It's like Novocaine. Give it time. It's going to work. Sure. That's what they're doing. And then defensively, they're not going to give up big plays. They're going to play bend but don't break. They're solid. And like you said, up front, their kids just by design are very physical young men. So Lucas isn't going away anytime soon, and to act like that they're playing up and they would be scared in the MOAC is going to be a false narrative, because they've been playing up for years.
Absolutely. And you and I talked a little bit about this. Scott Spittler, it's a perfect marriage. It's a perfect fit. Him coaching at Lucas. I mean, the community loves him. He loves the community. They just got it rolling right now. And this is 6 years. Everyone gets in the playoffs this year, so it'll be 7 years in a row.
But they would anyways.
Yeah,
that's the thing about it. That's just who they are, man.
Yeah, the really exciting win to see what they did at the Valley. And then since I had an opportunity to see Crestview with my own eyes, granted it was going against Mapleton, who got a lot of young kids, a lot of first-year starters at the varsity level. I think Crestview's got something cooking out there. They got 11 seniors on the team. Shiflett, Hamilton, and Kuhn, that 3-people nucleus right there on the offensive side. I'm really excited to see what they do heading into St. Paul.
Week 2, man. Week 2. I'm telling you, it's going to tell a lot of the stories this week. That's what I'm excited about. That's another game. There's too many games for us to be at. Since we've got this short season, it's like, man, I mean, you jump right into it. There's no build-up. It's just you're right into your season, man.
All eyes will be on. It's a Saturday night game, I believe. It's Saturday. It's Crestview at St. Paul on a Saturday night. So everyone in the Firelands Conference is going to have their eye on that one.
Yeah, hot ticket.
All right, well, let's not jump ahead too far. Let's go ahead and run things back and show you guys who were some of the top performers that we had in the area from Friday and Saturday, our Friday Night Phenoms, presented by Spherion Staffing. Our guy Ross Kuhn there, 8 of 12, 162, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Gotta like that. Maxton Lauer, 16 carries, $125, 2 scores, and that all came in the first half. And just the size and speed, good luck slowing down this freight train this year.
That's a big man right there. That is a big man right there.
So get used to seeing him on our list here. Marshall Shepard, 17 of 30, 250, 2 tutties, 11 carries too. So, I mean, he just got the whole thing going on, Erik, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's well coached, knows what he wants to do. I would say only a couple of bad decisions that he had all night. He's going to be a very good quarterback.
Definitely. Actually, we're missing a couple of kids off the list. If we could bring up that graphic one more time, if we can run that video. I hate to leave anybody out, because even though Marshall Shepard was a man on Saturday afternoon, he had a lot of help in the passing game, throwing it to his other junior friend, Mr. Blaine Bowman, who was also on our list with 9 catches for $176. That's big numbers for a wideout.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think this isn't a surprise to anyone who's watched Shelby football. I mean, Blaine was coming last year as a sophomore. He made some big plays in that playoff game, I remember.
This is our last guy. A lot of love for the wideouts this week. 5 catches for 68 yards and a couple of scores. The only 2 touchdowns for Mount Vernon in that game. Gavin Moyer leading them to victory.
Yeah, they're replacing a lot of folks down in Mount Vernon. They lost a 2,000-yard running back, but guys like Gavin will help them ease that transition a little.
So of those players that you just saw on that list, who stood out most to you, gentlemen?
I'm a Blaine Bowman guy. I mean, 9 catches, 162 yards. I didn't see it, but I mean, that's a guy who has been making plays. Every time I've seen him play a football game, he's made a big play. He's impacted the game.
Right. And for me, it was Blaine Bowman as well. I thought he was the difference in that game, very timely. And if you'd have seen the yards after catch, that's another big, sometimes those are hidden stats.
Yeah.
I mean, there was yak all over the field with that young man. There were 3 catches in particular starting with the first one when he ran the skinny and caught it, and he just turned on the speed and just outran the entire secondary. And I thought Blaine was very special on Saturday.
Yeah, he's really starting to feel like those varsity shoes. I remember a couple years ago when you were still coaching at Shelby, when he was a freshman, you told me to keep an eye on this kid, and I tell you what, Eric, you were right. So they both like Blaine Bowman to be the Friday Night Phenom of the week, but guess what? It's all up to you, the fans. We are going to post this later. We want you to comment and tell us who you think should win the Friday Night Phenom Award for this week. But we still got some more special plays to bring at you folks right now. Let's go ahead and check out the nominees for the top 5 plays of the week.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So we kick things off here with nominee number 1. You already saw this on the highlight from Northmore earlier, but how about tiptoeing down the sideline? He wasn't taking some ballet classes or something growing up. How about Marcus Cortez going in for the 23-yard score?
Yeah, the Golden Knights, man, I tell you what, they got a good thing going right now. They can do a little bit of everything, and they certainly got more than one guy back there who's able to carry the mail for them.
So that's nominee number 1. Nominee number 2, how about this? Andre Hill tips it to himself, and he's not done. He's just running the other way, 60 yards. Not going to get into the end zone, but sets up Shelby with awesome field position. Just watch the concentration.
Yeah, that was a nice play right there. That actually ended up being our play of the game, our game-changing play of the game right there. We call it the heck of a play, so that was a nice job by Andre Hill there.
And here is going deep. Brady Taylor and Burnt Toast in the secondary are the TY Tigers because West Holmes getting in behind them. Big time play. That really set things off. First score of the game.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought that if Mansfield Senior's defense had a strong point, it was going to be that secondary, and they got some work to do, that's for sure.
Yeah, Brady Taylor there, 52-yard connection as he goes into the end zone. And like I said, that was the first score of the game, so it really propelled the Knights to victory. We already saw this too. Meet Colin Klein, the freshman, 88-yard kick return, and it looked like this was going to develop some momentum for the Mounties. It didn't add up that way, but man, just to see the speed of a ninth grader.
Well, not only that, but talk about the ability to stay in bounds with the kicker having the angle on it. So not only is this a cool play because it's a kick return, but it's also awesome because Crestview had gained a lot of momentum, and this answered it back early in the game. But look at that right there, him being able to keep his feet, not getting pushed out, showing the speed. That's a pretty cool play for a freshman.
No doubt. But this one didn't count as a touchdown, Eric, but I think it should have when you watch it back. Nolan Payne, one-handed grab in the end zone. Again, you see the official comes in and wipes it out. But check this out. He catches it.
Here's how cool this was. A bunch of Shelby parents are standing along the fence. I asked them, I said, we couldn't see it. Every one of them to a man said, yeah, I think that was a touchdown catch.
Those are your top 5 plays of the week. And again, we're going to repackage this up. We're going to put it out on the Facebook and the YouTube and the Instagram. And you guys know the routine and the Twitter. And we let your votes decide who should be the top play of the week. All right, we got a couple comments coming through for you, gentlemen. Cameron Heyer would like to know, were y'all surprised that Galleon lost?
Yeah, I kind of was actually. I mean, from everything that I had heard, that Galleon team had a whole bunch of guys back, including a really good quarterback back. I mean, they lost Isaiah Alsip, I believe was his name. He was the best receiver in school history. They still got some guys though. So I mean, That said, River Valley was a pretty good Division III team last year too. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a surprise because I like the quarterback as well.
Right.
I think that he is, coming in, him and Owen Fisher might be battling out for Player of the Year in that conference. And it was, to me, it was going to be who was going to be able to win their style of play, the inside or the athletes. And I think that River Valley was able to get that interior kind of established. So yes, I was surprised. I believe that was also in Galleon, and you correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I believe so.
Okay.
At River Valley, 20-19.
Oh, was that River Valley?
Yeah, so it was on the road at least for the
But
Tigers.
still, I'm with the gal that asked this question. I was surprised, yes.
Other question, what do you think about the Lucas defense this year from Ken Mounts? I think we've already talked about it, man. I think there's some big physical boys that they got out there. They were even down a few players, so I think it's pretty impressive what they got going on, and it's the mentality, right? Would you guys all agree that there's just something a little bit different in those Lucas Cubs uniforms?
Yeah, their philosophies match up. Their offense and defensive philosophies are perfectly meshed together, and that plays out on the offense and defensive lines. That's where it starts and stops. That's the foundation of your home. And so specifically looking at Lucas's defense, the same way they always have a guy to run the ball, they always have linebackers. Guys that read, react, fill. You can tell that this group of young men are very well coached. Their secondary gives up virtually no big plays, keeps everything in front. That's half the battle in high school football. How many teams can consistently go 8 to 12 plays in a drive, other than Lucas?
Right. And Eric, you can speak to this because you took a team to the Final Four. Those 4 extra weeks or 5 extra weeks
Right.
of practice at the end of last year,
right.
that serves you very well going into that next season.
Yeah, it's a great point. Great point.
All right, well, let's start talking about next week now, fellas, and start looking forward to some of the top games that we have here in the area. Mansfield Senior coming home, and boy, do they got a tough test. Columbus St. Francis de Sales, who took care of Bishop Watterson 28-22 last week. That's going to be the featured game by the OHSAA, too, I'm told, on Spectrum TV, so it's going to be a big audience for the Tigers. How do you think they're going to fare?
Well,
Go ahead.
Chioke Bradley has never ducked anybody. He's always
Right.
scheduled just as tough as he can. And they're going to have their hands full, that's for sure. But I think that it's this kind of game that
Yeah.
makes them better here down the road.
Well, and I'm excited to see how they rebound. I know Coach Bradley. I have the utmost respect for him and his staff, and not only that, but the way that his players play. He has. I can guarantee you, they've put aside, they've buried that 2019 state championship or state runner-up run. They'll be better this week. I have a feeling they're going to be a lot better this week. They're at home in front of that crowd, whatever it's going to be, but still it's home. There's nothing like home cooking. And I really look for Coach Adams as well to really light a fire under that defense because I find it hard to believe they're going to play it's going to be shocking football 2 weeks in a row.
Right, and I stopped down on practice today, and I can promise you that the defense will play with a greater sense of
Right.
urgency because Sean Adams, the defensive coordinator, he was
Right.
he was none too pleased, and everyone in the building could hear him that he was none too pleased.
And I can guarantee you they have players. I don't want to ever hear Mansfield Senior, the TY Tigers don't have players. They've got players on that sideline. It's just about getting them reps and experience.
All right, next thing we want to talk about, Mount Vernon. Nice win over Lexington. They are going to be at Ashland this week in a big OCC showdown here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Mount Vernon defensively they were pretty good last week. They did a really nice job, and again, to shut anybody out at any level, it's a hard thing to do. Now Ashland's going to be a different thing entirely. I mean, they've been throwing the ball around over there for a long, long time. It's they crank out quarterbacks year after
Yes.
year after year, and to go on the road and to beat a Division I school on the road, and that's saying something.
Yeah, Ashland's always consistently good. Like you talked about the quarterback situation. I'm going to be, you brought up an interesting point a little while ago with Lexington dealing with this COVID case, missing a practice day, just maybe not even thinking they were going to get that game in, and then they turn around and play and they lose 14-0. I'm going to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt on that mental component that takes place and having an entire practice stripped from them. I think that's more important, and that's an important part of this story.
Right.
So I think they're going to play much better this week. Is it going to be good enough to beat Ashland? I don't know about that. I haven't seen Ashland this year, but I do know this, that if Ashland wants to keep pace and wants to have even an opportunity and a sniff at that league title, they've got to win this one.
Absolutely.
How about Lucas at Ontario? What's your thoughts on that one, Eric?
Ooh, I want to see Ontario's front seven against Lucas's run game. And then I want to see Lucas, in turn, defensively. How do they handle the athletes, the 3 wide receivers and the quarterback? here's something else. Ontario, I believe, the starting lineup that we had, 21 of their 22 starters are seniors. So they have experience. I like what Coach Miller's doing there. I really like him. I think he's a really good coach. And I think that they can present some problems for Lucas defensively. They can score. They're not just grasping at straws anymore. I think Ontario can legitimately score points.
And the good news for Lucas is the best defense is an offense that
Right.
never comes off the field.
That's true.
And Lucas can, they can churn up a quarter at a time.
No doubt.
And so if they can they can limit Ontario's touches, basically, I think they're going to be right there.
Right. And Brian, just real quick, that's a great point because Lucas is a school, whoever's playing them, you can't play from behind. If you're down 14 points, it's like 28 points because they just grind it. If you can get up a couple scores and play opportunistic early, it gives you a much better chance. You're right. If Lucas is throwing the ball because they have to, you're in good shape.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love the Cubs too in the MOAC this year. It's
I think
really
they're going to be
fun.
good, man.
Yeah.
I think probably the biggest game of the weekend in the MOAC has got to be Shelby at Pleasant. I mean, you don't want to look too far ahead type deal, but this one might be one of those deciding factors in who wins the conference. Who do you guys like? Pleasant, obviously, they're just like a machine over there. They crank out good football every year. But Shelby's kind of on that same track right now, too, and it seems like they got the athletes.
I think Pleasant was a little displeased that Marion Harding beat them last year because they put it to them pretty good in week one here. And and Shelby I picked to be the MOAC champion. So I mean, this is we're going to get a pretty good feel for who's going to be hoisting the trophy at the end of the year after this week.
I concur. I think this is definitely going to have a very strong say over who wins the league. I want to see if Shelby can establish Owen Fisher. I'm excited to see this quarterback from Pleasant. The kid's a stud. I know that he's a difference maker. I know anytime they're inside the red zone, it goes through this young man. He is a heck of a football player. And I do know this. Pleasant has been working their entire offseason for this game. You remember how Michigan a few years had the revenge tour?
Yes.
I think that's kind of what's going on. I really believe in Pleasant's locker room. And I think all schools should have this, but there's a difference between thinking and knowing. I think Pleasant knows that they can be really good. And so Shelby's got to get on that bus and go down there really mentally focused because I think that this is going to be a physical, these are going to be sledgehammers hitting each other.
I feel like we've already pretty much touched on Crestview at St. Paul. I mean, the winner of that game probably taking the finals, right?
Well, they are certainly be in the driver's seat. I mean, especially with a condensed season, if you're 2-0 with 4 to play, and you're probably your biggest competition to win that championship is a game behind, you were sitting pretty.
Well, I mean, I think it had been 7 years since I'd lived in Shelby, and it was just last year that St. Paul lost their first Firelands game, I believe, in that amount of time. And my wife is a South Central grad, and she doesn't really care about athletics at all. If you bring up South Central, she perks up, and who's playing them and who can I root for? I mean, so this is monumental for Crestview to get over that hump, because once you do it, you mentally now know as a program we've made that jump, and I think they've got the young men to do it. It cannot be overstated how great this game is. Man, there are so many great Week 2 games, man.
All right, and the last one that we're going to talk about, Northmore is traveling on the road to take on their K-MAC rival East Knox, go toe-to-toe with the Bulldogs. Last year when these two teams met, they were both 5-0. There was a lot of excitement around it, and then East Knox kicked them to the curb pretty bad. I think it was something like 50-0. I got to imagine Northmore has been circling this one for a while.
I would think so, yeah, absolutely. I mean, East Knox went on to win a regional championship. They played in the Final Four last year. Northmore was a playoff team last year. I think they lost in the opening round. They were all in the same region, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's all on the line, right? I mean, that's as big as it gets in the K-MAC.
I'm excited to see Thunder and Lightning in the backfield for Northmore against this East Knox defense.
Question.
I'm telling you, that presents a dynamic that's tough to practice for. You're spending all of your time, okay, here's the packages defensively when this guy's at quarterback. Here are the packages when that guy's at quarterback. And from what I saw, that big guy isn't just big. He's going to be able to outrun you as well. So you better get that guy before he gets going. I have not seen East Knox, but I am impressed with Northmore.
All right, guys, and I don't really know what this contraption is, but if I open it, looks like there's something inside. Ring, ring. Yeah, that's right. We're going to make some bold calls right now for you folks, old school style. So Erik, you tell me, what's your bold call of the week? I'm going to stay on the line. I'll see what mine is.
Oh, man, my bold call of the week, I don't even know if it's that bold. I'm picking Crestview to win, and I think Crestview's going to actually win by a couple touchdowns.
Okay, my sources are saying that they like that pick. That's a good one. What about you, Curt?
I like the Road Warriors from Lucas to go to Ontario and get another win against another Division IV school. It's I mean, that's a tall order to do week in and week out, but this is a team that can do it.
Yes. My sources are saying that they like both of those bold calls. You took the words right out of my mouth, Curt. I like Lucas as well to go on the road back-to-back weeks, bouncing opponents in the MOAC. You know, some people thought, oh, they're too small. Lucas, they can't go and compete. We feel bad for them. They might get beat up. Not these Cubs. Not this year. They're just too good, too well coached. All right, as I look over here, seeing if we got any more comments coming through, any more questions to answer. I can tell you, Erik, that my wife, Brian Skowronski, likes that you like your home cooking. She's a big fan of that.
Absolutely.
But what's not to love about home cooking?
That's right.
Ashland went over Division I Berea Mid-Park. Does that really matter, or is it too soon to tell? I think we already touched on that. Arrow's probably going to be pretty good.
They're going to be pretty good because I'm telling you, Berea Mid-Park's pretty good. And I find it hard to believe Ashland's going to be subpar 2 years in a row.
And the way that, I mean, the football tournament is going to be like the basketball tournament now.
That's right.
And seeding is going to be important. If you have a win over a Division I opponent as a Division III school on your resume, it's you're going to be looking at a pretty high seed once they start rolling that stuff out.
And you're taking the words right out of my mouth as far as just the fact that Ashland's Division III. They're not even Division II anymore. So Ashland will definitely compete in that Division III region, which, by the way, is a bear. That is a tough Division III region.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I guess real quickly before we shut things down, I was a pretty big critic of the OHSAA for making it the 6-game schedule and then letting everybody get in. I still feel like it's a money grab, but at the same time, I don't want to discount how exciting it's going to be having this big, massive tournament.
Right.
I guess just, fellas, give me your thoughts on what do you think it's going to look like here in 5 weeks when they throw in every single team. It's going to be nuts.
I have mixed emotions about it. I think that what makes the playoff special is that you have to play your way into them. That said, it's going to be really exciting for some communities that haven't been to the playoffs since the 1990s. Who all of a sudden they're going to be playing what is essentially a sectional game, but that's a tournament game.
Right. Yeah, I'm fine with it for a year.
Right.
For a year, for this year with 6 games. I think it'd have been hard to work out points and common opponents because pretty much everybody's going to their conference games. Right. So for this year, I'm cool with it. Next year, let's get those 10 games back and get back to playoff football. Although I actually liked it at 8. I didn't even want it to move to 12. Right. I still liked the 8 teams. If I had a team that was a 1, 2, or 3, or 4 seed, I don't want to sit week 11. I want to keep playing. I want to keep that momentum going. I liked 4. I loved 8. I think 8's awesome. I think that's where they should have kept it. I think that's what makes Ohio high school football really special is that there's no participation trophies. You got to win your schedule.
Well, even though everybody's getting into the playoffs, it feels like it's a race to the finish already coming up with week 2. The fact that, man, you just don't have a whole lot of time to make up for lost time if you drop a game. So it's going to be an exciting football season, gentlemen, and I'm really looking forward to continuing on and following all the games. And we got a ton coming up for you on the OH Report. We're going to drop the entire list tomorrow of the live streams and the highlights that we're going to be doing. And just want to thank Curt and Erik for coming on the show. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys as we move forward on the season. And hopefully not too many weather delays and we can actually do this on a Saturday next time.
Sounds great to me.
Yeah, it's very. I'll tell you, it was so fitting.
So 2020.
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting in the press box for a couple hours and then get sent home and come back at 5. I was thinking any other year you would say, oh, that's just crazy. This year you're saying, hey, this is how we roll.
About right.
Yeah, it just felt normal. It was comfortable. Just in that rain delay.
Yes, very good. Uncomfortable is now comfortable.
That's right. All right. For Erik and Curt, I'm Brian. Thank you all for watching. Shout out to our amazing director, Adam, as well. And shout out to you guys for watching. We'll see you hopefully on Saturday next week right here on the Pigskin.
Now there ain't nothing to it. Go ahead and bring a lot on. Ain't no giant, I ain't gon' fire on. Catch a fade, you I'm warm, I'm gone. Y'all can catch the wave that I am on. I am hardcore, y'all are wide wrong. Think that I'm a reconcile bonds. Ain't nothing to it though. This is on me, ain't got much to do with who you though. Keeping it true to from 10 L's into a milli though. But they already knew that those farewell to your opinions know that he is something.